Hello everyone. I am back with another video about the English Nationals, the BritCon. Earlier on I spoke to Russell, who's doing the list checking, and now I am speaking to one of the players, Topher, who is also the English team captain for the WTC and is also attending BritCon with a very interesting French list. Hello, Topher.
Hello, you've already spoken about that in a previous episode.
I did. I really like your list. I think you're going to do great.
Yeah, but I've already noticed mistakes with it. Like, not mistakes in the list, but as in like submitting it wrong. Don't use Army Builder apps because then the points come out wrong. That's a top tip from me because I did it and the points came out wrong. So
well, there we go.
Legal. It's legal. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah. Just to mention it, I can see your background already says it, but Topher is also the Juggenaut bold action podcaster, so people might know you from there. And this is what you look like in real life for people who haven't seen you.
It's definitely a face for podcasting, isn't it?
Yeah.
To be fair, I'd assume there's a fair bit of like overlap between our two audiences.
I think
compared to Box and Pay. If you listen to us and you don't watch Bo, it'd be really weird if you're watching this, but don't But if you if you watch Bo and you don't know what the Juggernauts are, come check us out. You'll find a lot of more jokes outside.
There's a lot of similar ideas, and I do listen to your podcast as well. Right, we're here to talk about some of the lists for the BritCon English Nationals, and you've picked out some that you want to talk about today. So the format is we sort of describe what's in the list, and then we'll sort of debate whether or not that's good and what we would change if we were changing anything. So let's start, and you can start, and we can take turns at going over the lists.
So this is very difficult because I had to have a look through, see who you've already covered, and make sure we didn't do any cross contamination.
Yes.
And also, what's interesting to talk about, right? We don't want to just talk about normal stuff. So I've settled on number 1 for Patrick Dale's list. Yeah, and he's got a 14 dice German list. I know you love talking about German list though. So he starts with a regular. It's one platoon only. And he starts off a regular second lieutenant with 2 buddies. He has 2 8-man regular Here Grenadier squads with an LMG each. 1 5-man regular here. Yeah, 1 5-man regular here squad, no upgrades at all, just 5 barebone regular guys. A 5-man veteran pioneer squad with a flamethrower and 2 SMGs.
Nice.
He's got a veteran medic. Cool to see. He's got a regular flamethrower team. A regular anti-tank rifle. A regular Pack 36. I believe it's the light AT gun he's got.
It is the light AT, yeah.
Yep, cool. He's got fully armored car. He's got a regular 222, which is the 7+ open top recce one. He's got for a tank a Panzer 38T, which is 8+ 2 machine guns on it, I recall. And then for transports, he's got a Kettenkrad and 2 Hanemags.
With MMGs.
With MMGs, yes. And they're the big 12-man capacity Hanemags, I believe,
Yeah. So
14 dice total.
Yeah, which is good. So it's a good order dice count. I do think that he's going to get pinned down a lot because he has an open-topped armored car, and the Hanemags are also going to get pinned. And he's possibly transporting some of his troops in those Hanemags, maybe the Pioneers or maybe one of the Hare units. They're going to get pinned very, very easily, double pinned, and so they won't be that effective. So this for me is a friendly German list, maybe more than a competitive one. How do you feel about it?
When I was looking at the thing that struck out to me is it just lacks focus. In that it doesn't I can't really tell what he wants to do with it. When we have just 5 regular guys, is that a squad to sit back and hold objectives? Is that a squad to advance forward? I'm not entirely sure what's happening with that.
It's just there to keep one of the Hanemags alive, basically.
Okay, yeah, and the Hanemags as well. He's spending points on those big Hanemags, 12-man capacity each. Yeah. But then the squads inside them are only filling half of it as well. So I'm kind of want to say Patrick, go one way or another. Either go Hanomag and then fill those half tracks up, or say actually I don't need the full Hanomags. Maybe go for the 5-man capacity ones. I think there's the 250s, the mini ones.
Yeah,
I'm just seeing a lack of focus, and that's before we get into like the standard LMGs on the infantry.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just too expensive for what they do. I mean, you do get that extra range, so you could sit them in your own deployment zone, keeping like the backline holder role for them. But it does become expensive. An 8-man for a backline holder unit is just too big for me. That's into like skirmish territory. Also, sorry.
And then with anti-tank, we've got that light AT gun, and I know I feel I know what he's going for, because my answer is, why are you bothering taking an AT gun when you're German? Just take Panzerfaust. Yeah. And I think he's going for an early war theme here. It looks very 1940 Blitzkrieg, in which case, cool.
Yeah.
But at a competitive event like this, it may not work as well as you wanted to.
I think he's going to lose a couple of games simply for being too thematic with this. And I mean, he has the Panzer 38, which the Germans stole from the Czechs, right? So, and the 222 was also in the early war. So, and the AT rifle, there is a lot of early war stuff here. So I'm guessing you're right with that. It is a thematic list more than a competitive one. What do you think he should do? Is there any suggestions that you would give? He has submitted the list. He is not going to change it. What would we suggest for him so that he gets the best possible chance?
Okay, I can see the bear, but I think each Hanomag needs to have some nasty payload in it to make it worthwhile. So I can see one Pioneer squad in one Hanomag, I would assume, because then the Hanomag dries up, delivers a flamethrower. Let's double it. Let's have 2 Pioneer squads, one in each Hanomag. And then the Kettenkrad.
He could actually, because he has a flamethrower unit, so he could have a flamethrower team in one and the engineers in the other, and then something with the flamethrowers, maybe the small hairs or one of the larger hair grenadiers. They're just regular hairs, right?
Yeah.
In that one Hanomag, that would keep it alive, and that would have some payload to unload.
Yeah, and those that 5-man hair squad. Another thing you could do is, if you just want you to sit back on an objective, for those points you could get 10 army replacement guys or Ostroop and a 10-man Shirker squad who can just sit there going down and do the same job for cheaper, better.
Yeah.
It's another way
so there's a lot of things you could change up, but there are still things you can do with this list. I also think that the Pak 36, although it's not a good competitive choice, if you're going to run with it, you need to place it in an area terrain somewhere, preferably in a ruin where you get hard cover, and you can sort of cut up the table into sections where the enemy doesn't want to cross the sections, basically going on ambush all the time, right? So that was Patrick Dale, a friendly or a thematic list. Right. Which one do you want to do next then?
Let's do Michael Smith's. I spotted.
Michael Smith. Right. That's a bit down. I'm looking for the list. Michael Smith. There we go. Right.
Right. So, you ready?
Yeah, let's go.
So Michael's got a man after my own heart, has got an 18-dice Soviet list with 2 platoons in it. So I'm already happy. So start off with 2 inexperienced second LTs.
Yeah.
He's got 4 12-man Strafbat squads.
With
only with unarmed dudes, only 5 guys with rifles in the middle. So that's 48 bodies straight away for just over 100 points. He's got a
7 points per 12 man.
Yeah,
that is insane.
Yeah, it's a lot of men.
Yeah.
He's got 7 veteran tank riders with SMGs.
Yeah,
and of course he's got the 3 Soviet squad, and that's all. That's him sort on the infantry. He's got a regular sniper. He's got 2 inexperienced medium mortars. Yeah. He's got 2 regular dog mine teams. One of the teams has got 2 SMGs on it. I assume he has some points left over. Yeah. He's also got a veteran tank hunter team of 2 men with 2 SMGs and a single Panzerfaust. And in addition to that, he's got 2 BA-10s, the armored cars, regulars with a light AT gun each and 2 light machine guns. He's got a T-28 howitzer tank with lots of machine guns on it, and a T-26A which is a regular 7. I think it's a 7+ tank with 2 machine guns on it.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Lots
and
of
that
stuff.
is 18 order dice.
Yeah.
Whoa, there's a lot of good stuff here. And I think he's really clever about running the mortars inexperience, because most of his infantry is just going to run in the way of any howitzer he might want to have instead anyway. So he might just shoot them directly and have them inexperienced. They're never going to be needed for anything else. That he's always going to have cover. He can go down if he's really threatened by a steward or something. So I really like that. There's a lot of bodies here. This is sort of a horde list, right? Would you call this a horde list as well?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's got a lot of men. There's lots of men. I feel it. The men don't have much staying power, though. Is my only concern.
No.
He's got a lot of men, but it won't take much to take them out, if that makes sense. Like, Ostroupen are nice and cheap, sure, but the only things they can beat in fights are small teams. They will not beat bigger squads, and I've seen a lot of Gurkhas.
Yes, there is quite. I just talked to Russell, and I mean, almost all British players are bringing Gurkhas or commandos or something really
absolutely
nasty.
Right. Why wouldn't you? I think if the Strat Pack try anything more than just getting in the way and being an objective, I think they're really going to suffer.
And they are shirkers, so every pin on them is going to really park them down. So
and there's no commissar here either. To keep them going. I think that's a missed trick there. If you're going to have this many inexperienced guys, get that 15-point die, get them moving. Especially when he's taking SMGs on dog mines and stuff. And I'm thinking there's other places you could have put those points. And a commissar, I would have really appreciated to keep the guys moving.
I also think that he sort of misses one thing, and that's like a single flamethrower somewhere in his list. And maybe a couple of Panzerfausts if you want to run really competitively, because you can access them for Soviets, right? I think even tank riders can have at least one, right? You know the Soviets better than I do.
Yeah. They can do, yeah.
So I think you're also missing something there. So it lacks a bit of anti-tank power. I think the dog
it has got the two light AT guns on the BA-10s. Yeah. Which, if they can get a good side hit, I mean, it's more than enough to take out a Stewart, right? And that's what we're all aiming for in terms of anti-tank. And the dog mine's some of the best anti-tank in the game, but because he's got so many of his own vehicles, he's going to have to be careful about when he plays them.
Yes.
Because he needs to make sure his vehicles go first, which means, and then if he fires them at Stewart, which then wreck is, well, you wasted your dog. So he's going to have to be careful.
But he does have 18 dice, so he might get that first order dice or the last of a turn, and then run up and take the side shots. So this is a really good list. I think I rated this as a good competitive list, but not a top list. I think Michael here is going to do well with this list. I think he's going to win some games.
Absolutely. You should definitely at least get 2 or 3 out of 5 easily. For me, the thing that it's missing, as someone who's played similar lists to this, is it's missing. I don't want to use rude words. I don't want to bring down your channel. It misses something to scare your enemy, right? And what I mean is it doesn't have much to actually dictate to the enemy what they're supposed to do. If I'm playing this against this list, there's loads of stuff in it, but there's nothing I'm particularly scared of. So I'm just going to do what I'm going to do, and then what will happen will happen. Whereas things like flamethrowers and jeeps or big howitzers,
scary is the T-28 that has all those machine guns, and that's pretty good. But it's just a Stewart equivalent.
It's just one, it's just one. And if he had, say, another one, or maybe a howitzer or 2, or a flamethrower and a jeep, stuff to stop me doing what I want to do is the thing that's missing for me. Yeah.
For me, my first thought was that it's pretty reactionary, this list. He's going to sit back, wait for you to do something. And when you do that, you run the risk of the enemy doing something that you don't want them to do, right? So,
I think bolt actions are game best played when you are proactive and you take the fight and you dictate the game.
When you win games.
Exactly,
Right. So that was our second list of today. We're very quick on the lists. So let's see what else we have. What have you got?
So Martin Fairweather. Let's find him in the list. So Martin's in a relative. It says local. He's not local as he comes to our club all the time, but he comes to a lot of the events that I go to and host up, and he's actually quite up and coming. So he's placed in the top 3 of the last few events I've been with him at. So I expect good things from Martin.
Ooh. So good player, and one of those that you're really watching. I have a few of those.
Yeah.
All of them are watching my back, seeing when I'll stumble.
One good thing about being a bit of like, public figure of a podcast and stuff is I get to see people come in and grow in, and it's really exciting when you see people, start to get good. So Martin's got a British list, 16 dice, so nice high dice number, and he's gone with Vengeance. Which I know we have differing opinions on Vengeance as how good a national rule it is, but we'll save that.
Okay. I will get back to it later then.
Yeah. So he's got in single inexperienced second lieutenant, again with 2 buddies. I'm seeing this a lot.
The Spanish and the Germans have taught us.
Yeah. Well, I'm still not convinced.
No, neither was I.
No.
And I'm not running it myself, but I see the point.
Yeah. He's got 2 regular 9-man squads, each one with 2 SMGs.
Okay.
And he's got a 5-man veteran engineer squad with a flamethrower.
Yeah.
That's it for infantry. He's got his free 4-door sewer observer. He's got a regular flamethrower, an inexperienced light mortar, a regular Piat, a land mattress, which I don't think was allowed, but it's been allowed in anyway.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Don't know why that was. But yeah.
He's got 3 of the recce motorbikes with an LNG each.
Very good. Yeah.
I'll save the best to last. He's got 2 regular jeeps, a Bren carrier with 2 LNGs, and then the ace in the hole. He's got a Churchill AVRE. Which may be why I picked this list to talk about, because I love a good tank. I love a big tank. I know you shouldn't, but I really do.
No. I'm really rooting for these lists to do well, because they fail horribly, but you really wanted to go and do stuff, because it's that big Death Star type unit. You want to see something do that in the game. That's... my first thought when you read out the list was, this is very light on infantry.
Now we know why.
Now we know why. All the points go into that tank.
So it's heavy, it's slow, 2 machine guns on it. Oh, and a 4-inch HE template. Let's not forget about that. You know what? I think I know heavy tanks, the likes of your AVREs, your IS2s, your KV2s and all that. I know they have a bad rap in the competitive community, because why bother taking a big tank when you can just take 2 Stuarts? And you know what? For the most part, but I think they're better, or at least have more potential than people will give them, because I think what you need to do with it is you need to get it and you need to throw it at people, and you need to say, I'm a big tank with a big HE, come and deal with me. And what a lot of time they'll spend 400 points in their Tiger, and then it'll sit on their deployment zone because they're scared of getting too close to the enemy, in which case, well, you've just bought a 400 point AT gun.
Yeah.
So,
and that is way too expensive.
He needs to get stuck in with it. He needs to just run up to people and go, right, I'm hitting you on 2s. Do you want to go down? And just make people go, as we were saying when we was talking about Michael's, you need to have something that can dictate the game. Yeah, an AVRE can do it. An AVRE can point you in that direction.
It can definitely dictate the game. My question is always whether or not you actually have the strength to flow after it and do what you need to do. Which I have the complete opposite theory than you. I think also that at least medium tanks can do well, but I think you need to be conservative with them. You need to, and still at the same time you need to dictate the game. So you need to be centrally placed on the table for me, and maybe a little bit back, and then figure out where the enemy's threats are, and then you push where they aren't. For me, that's the idea. So, but that is, I mean, going forward, finding one flank or pushing, you might also be able to do that. I really want to see it done, right? I want to see a competitive player really who's trained with a big tank, who knows the big tanks, who knows what to do, has a plan, do well with one of these.
Absolutely. And it's something that rewards good gameplay, right? Because if you've got your big giant howitzer, don't be firing at units that have already haven't activated yet. They will just go down. You need to bait them out with an action, make them run, make them fire, make them do anything, and then punish them for it. And it's very much an order to your activations. And he doesn't have a lot of infantry, so one random howitzer hit could make the whole game fall down. It's a very risky proposal, but A for effort. If he gets 2 wins, I'll be proud of him, because
it's going to be tight. 16 order dice. Still 16 order dice, so it's pretty high on order dice.
You know what? I think we could trim that, though. I know there's a lot of dice, but when we've got things like do we need the light mortar team? We could take more infantry. Let's get some shirkers and let's get some home guard in now. So we need men.
That is right. And I don't think you need the Pier team either, because that Churchill heavy howitzer that is going to take on most anything, and the Pier team is not going to help you that much anyway. It's only that 12 inch.
It might not pen a Stuart, but a D6 pins on it will do the job.
Yes, it will. It will. Yeah. Right. So before we move on, you're going to have to go back to Vengeance. What is it with Vengeance and you?
I think Vengeance gives you the ability to shed 2 pins in 1 turn, basically. So you can declare what you're doing, take your Vengeance tech, and then take your check. And being able to lose 2 pins in a turn like that massively takes away from your opponent the ability to kind of stop you in your tracks. Because even if you had 2 pins on you, even if you pass the test, well, then everything you're doing is then going to be at a further -1. Vengeance can take away that. And also the cheeky, you get to measure before you decide what you're doing as well. It's very cheeky.
But it's good.
It's but if you've got your flamethrower and you go, right, I've got an advance order, I'm going to go and do something. You declare your advance order, cool. If you then Vengeance and work out that you're not within 12, you can at least advance in the opposite direction, because you're not going to get shot. It's cheeky, but at this level of play, these are the kind of things you can get the benefit of. And while Upham Atom is definitely the easier one to use. Hey, look, I'm going to charge stuff. Woo! I think if you've got an army like this one, where charging isn't necessarily something you want to do anyway, I think Vengeance is a much better.
Definitely the way to go. And I think even for I've often used Up and Atom with my Gurkhas, because it's just such a nice combo.
Gurkhas,
with being able to charge. But when I do run them as maybe in a tank platoon or something like that, where you have so many other units, it's a fair bet to go with Vengeance instead, because that will benefit all your army.
If you've got loads of vehicles, well, they're not benefiting from Up and Atom because they're not charging anything, but they will benefit from Vengeance.
Everything will benefit from this. So it is a really good choice. Right. That was our 3rd list. Want to do a 4th?
Yeah, so I've got to do it. My other one of the other hosts of the Juggernauts, Peter Barrett. Come on, let's slag him off.
Let's slag off. Right, he's way at the top for me here. Let's just find him. There we go.
So to declare my biases, we have been practicing this at club. I have played this list a few times, so I have super sneaky insight. So he's gone British again. There's a lot of British players there. 14 dice now.
Yep.
And he's also gone Vengeance, much for the reasons we've already discussed. I won't repeat myself. He's got 2 inexperienced 2nd lieutenants.
So double platoon.
Yeah. So his infantry, he's got 3 8-man regular squads with an SMG each. A single 5-man regular engineer squad with a flamethrower.
Yeah.
Regular is 3 artillery observer with a buddy. Regular veteran sniper. He's got a regular 25-pounder with a spotter. And then there's a Bren gun carrier for the engineers. He's got 2 machine gun Stuarts, standard for a British list, and then he's got 2 PPA flamethrower jeeps. Which I'm when these came out in we had a good 20-30 minute discussion on these on that podcast, going, what in the absolute beep is this unit? Oh my god! And you know what? We played them at club and we've gone, God, they're good. Thinking they're going to be everywhere. Pete's the only person who's brought them. The only person. I'm a bit boggling my mind, because it's a veteran Jeep with recce and a flamethrower. It combines a flamethrower team and a Jeep in one nice little package for cheaper.
That goes off one activation. Points.
Exactly.
Only 68.
Why are we not seeing them?
Well, I can tell you a few of the reasons why I think it is, but we are seeing some of them. I know Graham from Scotland, he has converted 2, which he brought to the Danish nationals. He didn't do well, I'll tell you this much. They flopped completely, those flamethrower Jeeps. I think the reason you're not seeing more of them is because in the armored car slot for the Brits, you also have the airborne recce Jeep, which is cheaper and has 10 machine gun shots if you're running it with double machine guns. And you have stuff like the Staghound, and you have, I mean, there's so many good choices there. So it sort of competes with all the other good choices. And it doesn't have the range. It needs to get up and close to personal to people. So I think that's why. I think people are just not necessarily feeling it because they already have a good armored car.
One thing we have found at club is the first time someone plays them, because they always come in 2s, right? Every person who they all go all in. It comes in 2s. And then I know the first time I played them, they absolutely tore me to bits. And I was like, what? And then I played them a bit more. I was like, oh, okay, I worked out how to get them now. And I think it's like, you know, like units like cavalry and Gurkhas and stuff like that, where it's so weird. If you've never played them before, you don't really know what you're expecting. Then once you actually play them, And one trick we found with them is, so usually with a flamethrower, you run right up and then you're praying for next dice out, right? So you run up at the end of a turn, and then the next turn comes around and you go, right, my dice, let's go. With the flamethrower Jeep, it runs right up and it just sits there. It doesn't need to take the first dice out, because if you want to kill it, it's just going to wreck you away. And it also, they don't even need to get up in your face. They can just sit there behind a building, nicely biding their time, because they've got a 12-inch advance and a burn, and God help you if there's a road, that's a 30-inch threat range. So they can just sit there going, at any moment you advance forward, I'm going to come kill your tank.
And because it's one unit, it doesn't need that 2 dice that you would need from a Jeep flamethrower team combo. So it's really a big threat, and it's in a small package. So I completely get that.
I know pretty fragile because it's a soft skin, etc. But flamethrowers and Jeeps are fragile, and people always take them. And if you're a good player, you can hide your Jeep. You brought 2 Stewarts, that's some cover. Bring it with you. You know?
You can basically you can run the Jeep behind the Stewart. Most of the time, people will not be able to see the Jeep because the Stewart is too tall, and when they can, you get hard cover. Shoot, absolutely. I don't care.
Absolutely, yeah. I will say from this list, there's not a lot of infantry.
No,
not a lot of infantry.
No, and the infantry is not. It's not really good. I mean, the engineers are good, right? But the 8-man regular infantry, they're just skirmish infantry, backline holders. They're not strong. So he is going to struggle if there's going to be a lot of objective missions. Do you guys know already what missions you're going to play?
They're the 12 from the Warlord pack.
Okay. So there is a fair bit of objective missions there, but there's also a lot of other stuff. Yeah.
In terms of how I would improve it, I mean, obviously we've spoken about that because I played this list a few times. For me, with the infantry, I would tend to go, right, let's have some I would designate as backline and point them appropriately, like maybe swap 2 of the squads out for home guard, for instance, with extra guys or unarmed guys, and then use those spare points to go, right, let's make the other squad beefier if they've got to advance forward. Let's chuck some Gurkhas in, let's chuck some more engineers in. You can fit another engineer squad, things like that. 25-pounder, it's a cool model, but it's also quite expensive for when you're trying to squeeze out your points already as much as you can.
It is.
Would a mortar do the job better?
Points. So you might want to get a mortar instead and just say, well, suck it. I can't take it. I can't take it. You can't take everything in every list. You're going to have to make some choices at some point. You could also ditch the sniper.
That's an easy 50 points.
It is.
Yeah,
but it's still a good list. It is.
Oh, absolutely. And Pete's not a bad player. He knows what he's doing.
No, he's noticed.
He should get at least 3 wins out of it, I'd hope.
Yeah. Right. That was cool. So not so much slagging off on Pete. That we were actually congratulating him on a decent list here.
Well, no, so I'm just setting it all up now, because if he doesn't get his 3 wins, then I'll slag him off for being rubbish.
Yes.
You have to turn into the podcast though for that. See, it's all about the marketing.
Yeah. all the trash talk will happen on the podcast.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Cool. Thank you so much for joining me, Topher, and thank you so
No
much
problem.
for going through the lists with me.
Anytime.
That's good. I'll make it back to you when we have the results then.
Then the trash talk can begin. We can
Not
prove
on my
all the way, and we can be proven all the ways we were wrong because we've just made big sweeping statements about how everyone's going to do.
Right.
I hope you proved wrong. It'd be great.
Yeah. One thing I will ask you, I asked Russell the same. You've looked through the lists, right? What do you think the results are going to be? Not necessarily that you're picking your top three, but what do you think that the top will look like, and what will the bottom look like in the results?
Bottom wise, I don't want to name like individual names, but there's definitely a couple of like.
Please don't name.
There's a couple of like fluffier lists. Like there's a couple where you can tell they've just brought the start collecting box there, and there's not. You can tell that they've just gone. Here's a few models. Let's go. Yeah. So I'd expect them to be towards the bottom. Probably will have the most fun there, to be fair, because they'll lose their first game and then play well-balanced people for the rest of the tournament, which is what you really want. In terms of the top, there's a lot of Gurkhas. There's a lot of double Stewarts. I would be shocked if they weren't present in the top 5. There's plenty there, and there's some good players behind them as well. So I won't go into anything more specific than that. But
there's also like a lot of Soviet lists that are pretty strong. What do you think? Are they also going to finish top?
There are some strong Soviet lists, but there's been nothing that's made me go, whereas the Gurkha and the double Stewart, it's proven. It was all over the WTC. Everyone, it's tried and proven. I think it's going to take something big to dislodge that.
Okay.
It really is, yeah.
Cool.
That's the parameter, I guess. That was what everyone's expecting to fight. So that's what everyone's gearing their list to fight against, I assume. I mean, that's me somewhat. So
yeah,
it'll be me. It'll be me at the top of that. Oh, that'll be there you go. There's my bet.
Right. That was it for today. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and we will get back to you later on. Cheers.